If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
The blah blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
The blah blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
The blah blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Leslie and Stephen Shaw a little bit later about their book about aliens and alien abductions and all sort of fun stuff like that. You know, it's really more up Graham's. Like, Graham, what was the book called again?
Well, it's called Who They Are and What They're Up To. And that's the thing is they make a conclusion in this book. They're not just saying like, okay, here's all the data you figured out for themselves. They're saying like, it's not aliens. You could call them aliens, but it's people that are here, like in the earth, in the oceans. Like they're like coming up with basically like, you know, based on their personal experiences and all the stuff they've read, there's, you know, maybe underground cities and bases in the inner earth. And this isn't like an ET thing. It's more of a inner earth / interdimensional thing. But they also don't get into portals and stuff a lot. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Not enough, you think? Or
yeah, maybe a little bit.
All right.
You know,
Well, Chris,
I think that's connected with the underground stuff. I mean, when you look at, we talked about the underground bases having this magnetic anomaly above, like in Skinwalker, these guys have measured this weird magnetic anomaly in these areas. And there happens to be portals there. So what if that is connected, right?
absolutely. Of course, check the timestamp in the show notes if you want to skip our lazy ramblings and get right to the point, right to the interview. There's always a timestamp in the show notes. Other than that, Merry Christmas, I guess, is our day after Christmas episode. We didn't come out on Christmas because, I don't know, who wants to work on Christmas?
Yeah.
Do the No Agenda guys work on Christmas?
Well, it's mainly because who's going to listen on Christmas too? I mean, it's not like, you know,
Maybe
I guess
some
some people out there, you know, but most people are spending it with friends and family or whatever, and they're not going to put a podcast on in the background.
No.
Especially one about UFOs and modern disclosure and aliens and stuff.
But some people, there's some freaks out there. And we love you guys. We love the freaks. And we're here for you on Boxing Day, which, of course, is a thing in Canada. I don't think the States just the day after Christmas down in America.
It's a big thing here. Yeah, it's like the whole town was shut down today. It was the same as Christmas Day. Like everything is closed. Nobody, like, I don't think really people open up on Boxing Day and not Christmas Day here in Canada.
Our town was completely shut down yesterday, but it was pretty open back up today.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, Home Hardware wasn't open. A few things weren't open, but for the most part, you know, Canadian Tire and all that.
Yeah, I guess some people just do like the one day. Yeah. But so I got to say,
busy. You got a synchro?
Christmas synchro for you to rate.
Ooh, I don't have a Christmas. God damn, these Vegas cunts keep calling me. Should I answer now?
Well, sure, answer. Remember when I put the lady from Health on the phone?
Darren who?
It's not coming through. Chester Merrill.
Canada, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, on the air with who? You're on the air too. So
Darren, we're calling you on behalf of Hilton Wyndham Marriott, Caesars, and MGM. Wanted to know if we made it worth your while. Could you see yourself coming down to Las Vegas anytime with any friends or family in the next 3 years for some fun?
Vegas, baby.
Like, how worth my while? Like a free trip?
Well, it's not free. It's $499 for 4 days and 3 nights. You can bring 4 adults. they throw in 200 slot play, 200 in dining. And if you're in Canada, when you check in, they give you $1,000 hotel and car rental credit. That's good dollar for dollar, and it doesn't expire. So it's to say thank you, Mr. Grimes, for you or your family's past travel history. There's no timeshare, Caesars and MGM. Your accommodation.
All right, this is not as funny as I thought. It would have been better if it was like
a prank.
No, you know the scammers are better.
Is he there? Is he still there? Was it a guy? Or was it a
guy? They call me every day, almost every day.
Really? Well, I was thinking
the scammers are better when they say they're like Revenue Canada or
yeah, for sure. But
they get real mad. The one guy, he's like, well, the Attorney General will charge you. And I was like, well, dude, this is crazy. I am the Attorney General. Attorney General. And he's like, no, you're not. Fuck you.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I hate those calls. I get the ones about the visa all the time. Your visa, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, oh, it's just brutal. I can't believe they can't get rid of the robocalls yet. But I mean, I was interested to hear what MGM had to offer there.
That was not a bad price.
You could have said, are you trying to make up for the big hack? Like, I don't want to go there and be hacked. I mean, your hotels were hacked.
And is that where the shooter was too? No, that was the other one, right?
That was Mandalay Bay.
That's not a bad price. The four of us could go to Vegas for $100 each.
No, it's $4.99 each.
Oh, is it each?
Still a pretty good deal.
And we get $1,500 in hotel credit.
See, my mind was already working like, was there a CAC around there? We could book it around the CAC, and
there is a CAC around.
Contacted the cabin. That is.
There is a CAC around. Yeah, contactthecabin.com. If you want to get tickets to the Eclipse, we got the big Eclipse Festival coming, of course, in April 6th to 9th down in Utopia, Texas. Eclipse the Canyon, total eclipse of the fart. Come check it out with us, the Snake Bros, Ben from Uncharted X, Dave Matheson,
Luke Caverns,
and a bunch of
$50 Dynasty.
That's right. It's going to be a time, and there just happens to be a total eclipse, which is going to be pretty balling on itself. BYOB and all sorts of stuff. You could drink, you could party, you could listen to tunes, you could do experiments, you could do whatever you want to do. Just don't do anything crazy or violent. Just don't hurt anybody or yourself. But we're going to have a time. And of course, we have a few other events next year with the wonderful Randall Carlson and one of our own up down in Duck Creek Village, Utah. One of our favorite places. We're going to try it out in the middle of summer down there with our buddy Dave Matheson, Brown and Powell. Check out the stars from Bryce Canyon. Contact@thecabin.com. Check it out, man. Oh, next year's Canada trip's on sale too. That was a big hit. So,
yeah, that'll be great. That's up in the mountains and near Invermere, right in BC, kind of like eastern BC, almost Alberta. Go from Calgary to there. Jump in the river. The natural hot springs.
It was dope. It was a dope trip.
Yeah. So, do you want to hear the synchronicity or?
Well, I was gonna play. Yes, I do, but not just yet. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know which way to take it because some of your synchros are pretty hurting, but I'm hoping this one will not be that way.
How do you know it's mine?
Oh, well, I don't know. Is it yours?
Yeah, it is. You can tell.
I want a good score for my synchronicity. If Graham reads it out, then Darren might give it to me. Hey, don't you please read it low, yeah.
So I play this game with my family that it's called Joker's Wild, or some people call it Marbles and Jokers or Jokers and Pegs. It's a card game, and you move your pegs around the board. You try to move them out of it's almost like Sorry. Do you remember playing Sorry as a kid? What?
What kind of board? Like it comes with a board?
Peg board. No, you make it like it's kind of like a camping. It's kind of like a camping game where like people just make their own versions. All you need is 3 decks of cards, 20 marbles, and five marbles of 4 different colors. And you move them out based on your cards, and you go around the board and you knock each other out. And
where do you get the board?
You just make it. You just make it out of anything. The stone, there's wood.
Is it just a circle or?
Well, though the point is that. So for Christmas, my family was saying, well, why don't we play like online. Like we can show you the board. And so I said, well, why don't I make one? So I went into one of the D&D programs that we used for playing online, and I whipped up a virtual board, and then we found a virtual card website that we can deal each other cards, and we played virtually this game. So I moved the pegs around the virtual board, and we did our virtual card game with the family. So I did that with my mom and my sister and stuff. It was a blast on Christmas.
That sounds wonderful.
So
I guess. I mean,
so
it's
my-
better than not hanging out with them, but
yeah, exactly. So my sister's boyfriend's son comes in and he says,
what are
There's
you
a-
losers
there's
doing?
a Ferrero Rocher wrapper on the floor, and it wasn't there when I left. And my sister's getting all excited because she thinks the dog ate a Ferrero Rocher, and if her little tiny dog eats chocolate, like he'll probably die, right? Apparently, like chocolate's not good for dogs.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I've seen some dogs pound some chocolate. They're just fine.
So, anyways, there's this big
You know
thing
what got our dog finally? Was licking the garage floor a few times.
No,
Yeah, that's what fucking did it.
what dog?
He didn't die, but he, cost thousands of dollars to repair.
The little dog?
Yeah. Remember, he almost died back in the day, little Taco. Ultimately,
didn't
that was
think I
definitely from
remember.
licking the garage floor.
Look! Oh my god!
That
Like,
little bastard ate some chocolate though, and he didn't die.
like the
I know
blood.
some
up
other
the-
dogs too that have crushed like a lot of chocolate. They were okay.
the
I know
blood
they
up
say
the-
not to do it. It's not good. But here's the thing. None of that shit we're eating is chocolate. Like there's very little chocolate, actual chocolate in a Ferrero Rocher.
That's
It's all
fine.
just like,
'cause that's what he
it's
said.
like fancy sugar.
That's what my sister's boyfriend said. He's like, maybe it's because it wasn't real chocolate.
Yeah, 100%. If you drop some baker's chocolate or something, then, maybe
What did
it'll work.
your little dog get sick on the blood? Like leftover deer blood or something like
Well, we
that?
don't know. He got into a lot of stuff. He was eating like where the brains were from a skull I cleaned out. But he was also like, there was blood on the floor, and he was just like, you open the garage door, and he's just there like licking the floor.
And what happened to him?
So I think that's ultimately what got him was that garage floor. Like there's a bunch of stains on it from
What-
oil and gas.
What happened to him?
He got super sick, and he had to go to the vet. Remember, weren't you around for all
No,
this?
you never told me about all that.
I think you were around. I swear you were. I swear you were like, maybe not.
No,
Because we were at a CAC, I think, right?
What? I don't remember any of this. I feel like I'm in a dream right now. I
Were
don't
we
remember
at
any of it.
CAC or were we?
Well,
Maybe we
you
weren't
were,
at
and
CAC.
maybe that's the one that I didn't go to.
No,
probably-
because Shauna didn't come to Montana. Did she come? No, she didn't come to Montana. That
He
was
didn't
me and you.
ride.
Did
He
you
didn't
come to
ride.
Montana?
No,
No, I
I
stayed
didn't.
with the bros. So it wasn't then. It was before that. Well, I can't remember now.
But what they
uh,
do? What they do to him? Put him on antibiotics or something like that?
a bunch of stuff, steroids and all sorts
Wow.
of stuff. Yeah, he was actually in a little dog hospital for several days,
Wow.
and then a bunch of medicine.
So
It was
wow.
close. I mean, if there was a time there, I was like, I don't know, because he got out of the hospital and then went back in. You know what? I might be thinking Miles might have been the one who was around for that.
Right. Yeah. So wow. Anyways, so we were kind of trying to figure out if the dog had eaten it or whatever, right? It's just weird. This wrapper showed up out of nowhere. So then today, no, sorry,
Is
yesterday.
that the synchro?
No, it's still going on. So Christmas Day, we stopped at Maria's friend's place, like just on the way to her parents. Like we just make a quick stop, like a quick Christmas Day stop, right? And she's telling us the story about how they found a whole bunch of wrappers on the floor and their dog had eaten 8 Ferrero Rochers. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Is
Like,
this a Ferrero Rocher ad?
isn't that weird? I'm like, what? Another Ferrero Rocher dog story? Like, I don't even visit a lot of people or do a lot of things. And everybody's having these instances with Ferrero Rocher wrappers and dogs.
I don't know. This week, dude. But all right, I'll entertain it.
That's pretty weird, isn't it? I mean, it's not very
I guess
meaningful.
it's one of your more popular Christmas chocolate treats. You know,
I don't like them. I mean, out of all the chocolate treats,
they're
like
pretty
I would
good.
probably. I don't like.
You're
I've
buying a
never
lot
really
of
liked
air. Here's my problem: you're buying a lot of air. It looks like a nice big chocolate bar, but it's
them.
just
And
like
it's
mostly air. I think my favorite are the. Have you tried the like Kinder chocolate bars,
I don't like
Buenos
those.
or whatever?
I don't like those either. They
What's
don't
your
taste like real chocolate. They taste like European to me.
Well, none of them are real chocolate, man. None of them. Like if you had to like break down the actual cocoa percentage, it's probably like less than 10% for sure. What's your favorite there? That fucking Mr. Connoisseur.
I just like like
Connoisseur.
pot of gold or something. Just
Pot of gold. What the fuck is that? You mean like you want a whole box of chocolates? I'm just picking
hard
like
ones,
one chocolate.
you've called me like you said that it's the ones that the old people like. Like I like all the
Oh, like the
caramel,
those-
like not the caramel necessarily, but the ones with the nougat and the stuff in them. And
the nougat. That's
yeah.
racist. A nougat. You're a nougat. You know what? What about the old like the peppermint or the peppermint ones, like those little flat peppermint ones? Those are old people ones. My grandma always had those. They were like, I forget what they were called.
The after eights are good. The after eights are good.
After eights. That's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
the after eights. But I don't
I
know.
just like plain chocolate, to be honest with you. I don't like all the stuff in there. I just like rosebuds, just plain chocolate rosebuds. And they're probably not chocolate either. But
No, like
anyways,
just
the
like
dog was
little
fine.
chocolate eggs.
The awesome white dog was fine. He ate. He pounded back. He
Why'd you say white dog?
open because he's white and he's just a beautiful looking dog.
Like if he was black, he wouldn't be beautiful.
No, he just happened to be. But he had a cone on his head because he has to stop licking his wounds or something. So, but just a super good dog. I mean, anyways, he was fine. He ate like
Who won the game?
himself and ate. My mom and I both times.
You guys were a team?
Yeah.
That's nice. How come Maria didn't play?
She was in bed. She's not doing very well right now.
I wonder I'd like to hear more about this game that you can play online. Can you just play any card game online then? We could just play poker?
Yeah, you could, I think. Yeah. It's just like deck of cards.
There's no way to cheat.
No, you can't cheat. Yeah, that's the thing.
You all log into a table or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's pretty easy. It's pretty, as far as like, having like your parents play and stuff that maybe not aren't used to online stuff, it's pretty easy and intuitive. You just pick up a card, you play your card, you discard it, you press the play button, and then it goes to the next person. Super easy. Really good for Christmas.
You can pick like the number of cards you want to deal out, the number of decks you want to use.
Exactly.
You can play Go Fish.
Yeah, you could play whatever you want on there. War. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different online. This was the one that seemed to be the easiest to use for whatever you want.
I'm intrigued by this weird game that doesn't need a board or anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can show it to you if you want me to. I can.
Not now, but maybe you could teach you. It sounds cooler than Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it involves cards and like
about this silly card game, and like D&D is the most complex, like interesting, creative game ever, and just don't.
What a thing to say.
And you like sort of fantasy and sci-fi too, so I mean, you'd think that.
I like to read about it. I don't like to pretend I'm in the book. I'm not just like, man, I wish I was in this book right now doing stuff. It's just entertaining. We should mention that we're doing the Fandango.
We should, yeah.
Did we do it last year? I think we took a few years off, right?
Yeah. It was getting to be a bit of a shit show, it seems like. So what do we do?
Well, I don't know yet, but we're going to connect with the Cruising from Steak boys and take some calls, I guess, or just shoot the shit with them. I mean, we haven't talked to them really in a long time, so there'll be plenty to catch up on and chat about just with them. But it looks like we'll also field some calls in their Zoom room or however they do it. However they do, because I probably just be in their Zoom thing. If you want to get in it, you can call in. We give you the number because you can just call into Zoom, right?
Yeah, you can just call into Zoom. Yeah. So they're going to handle it. They're going to handle the infrastructure, and we'll just go in there and do that.
That's right. So it'll be
Cool.
our Christmas Fandango is back
So that's on January 1st, right?
January 1st.
Monday, January 1st, New Year's
The
Eve.
holiday Fandango, I
Right.
guess, not the
Christmas.
it's never actually on Christmas. But we'll do it on January 1st, and we'll Fandang out and call in if you want. It'll be, looks like we got it scheduled from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Is it? No.
5 to 7 Pacific will be 8 to 10.
I forget what fucking time now. I better check. Now that I'm talking about it, I better get the time right.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about a new audiobook for Christmas. I mean, it's Rudolf Steiner's Christianity as Mystical Fact and the Mysteries of Antiquity. It's on our podcast, and it's coming out in Audible as well, but it's on our podcast feed. It was written in 1902 as simultaneously mysticism and fact. Christianity is a breakthrough in the historical development of humanity, for which the mysteries were the results that they brought about from a prior evolutionary stage. That's from Rudolf Steiner. So he talks about the mysteries and their wisdom, the Greek sages, Plato, the wisdom of the mysteries and the myth, the mystery wisdom of Egypt, the Gospels, the Lazarus miracle, the apocalypse of St. John, Jesus and his historical background, the nature of Christianity, Christianity and heathen wisdom, and St. Augustine and the church.
That book is actually free this month on the Adult Brain Audiobook Podcast.
There you go. And what other ones? Malleus Maleficarum as well?
Malleus Maleficarum and the world's earliest, and the Hammer of the Witches and the world. I thought that would couple up nice.
I like how you did that.
The world's earliest vampire chronicles.
Kind of like
go there and get a taste of some fiction.
Fantasy Dungeons and Dragons stuff with some witches and some vampires. So
I learned at some of our meetups that I got to be easy on what I say about Dungeons and Dragons, because I am ostracizing a very, very large percentage of the audience. Like, I don't know if it's 50%, but it's approaching 50%.
That's awesome.
At least 30 or 40% of the audience are fond of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's unbelievable. Holy shit. Yeah, we had pretty good feedback of our episode with RPG Pundit. That was on Grimerica Outlawed, and he was talking about the woke Dungeons and Dragons and the Wizards of the Coast problems and how they're injecting all this stuff to ruin the hero's journey. Actually, I was on Charlie Robinson's TNT Radio talking about it a little bit as well. Same with the stuff that's happening in Canada with the healthcare system as well. So anyways, Malleus Maleficarum is is usually translated as the Hammer of Witches and is the best known treatise on witchcraft. Well, I would probably argue that, but it was written by the German Catholic clergyman Heinrich Kramer and was first published in the city of Speyer in 1486. So this is the Catholics, basically like the witch hunting manual in a way. Pretty crazy. It's a long book, and it's for free on our podcast. Talks about it has been described as the compendium of literature and demonology of the 15th century. And it goes through a whole bunch of questions on how they're supposed to deal with finding out who's a witch and who's not and all. It's very, in some ways, it kind of reminds me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Like, scenes from that movie kept coming to my mind when I was reading it. And then the other one is like 20 vampire books all together, like old 1700s, 1800 vampire books, like some really good. And these are all on audio. There's some really good, like sort of old romantic vampire type stuff, like the typical sort of romance stuff, and then some pretty creepy ones. Good variety of vampire chronicles. So thanks. Those are the free ones this month.
Those are the free ones. Check out adultbrain.ca or search Adult Brain audiobooks in your favorite podcast player, and it should show right up. If it doesn't, let us know. Those books are totally free this month. You don't have to pay nothing. Of course, you can pay if you want to get all 110 books all the time. But every month we switch those up. And those are the ones that are free right now. So get them. Drop while it's hot. Get it. Adultbrain.ca. Grimerica.ca/support if you want to support the show. If you like this show, I think this is episode 635 or 636. So if you like it, if you've got some value from all those shows, send some value back our way. I mean, we put a lot of time and effort and money into producing, and and distributing the podcast. If you find that valuable, if it adds to your commute, to your workout, to your day job, whatever the fuck you're doing when you're listening, head over to grimerica.ca/support today. Sign up for monthly or make a one-time donation or whatever you think, whatever it's worth to you. You decide. So value for value like that. You decide what the show is worth to you. If it's worth nothing, then I guess whatever. Cool. If it's worth more than nothing, let us know. Grimerica.ca/support. You decide. You pick your own monthly or your own one-time donation. We'll take $1. If y'all gave us $1, we'd have a very Merry Christmas. So I'll leave it at that. Grimerica.ca/support. Of course, we talked about Contact at the Catman. We talked about the audiobooks. What else you got? We might as well just get into the bio. It is still the holidays, working on the holidays.
I just shut it down by mistake. I gotta find it again here. Well, who are they? Who are they? Book. Who they are book.com is their website. And I found it here. So Leslie Shaw, she's been a lifelong science fiction fan, very well read in that genre. She's had a keen interest in ufology, spent many years of reading and research in that field. She's written news articles, poetry, and now has completed their first book, Who They Are and What They're Up To, in which she expounds on the theories about UFOs and beings who are flying them. She and her husband, Stephen, now reside in California. Stephen wrote the content for a website that's detailing methods using homeopathy and Chinese medicine as adjacent treatments for cancer. His family has a long, multi-generational history of strange, otherworldly phenomena, and there's more about that if you read the preface of the book. He was a state licensed practitioner of Chinese medicine and acupuncture for 20 years and a teacher of the Yang and Chen styles of Tai Chi Chuan for 23 years. So pretty fast. It was actually fascinating chat and interesting.
Yeah, it's a good one. Absolutely. Encourage you guys to enjoy it. And let us know what you think. Spam Graham. Other than that, we hope you had a Merry Christmas. We hope you have a better New Year. We'll see you on New Year's Day for the Fandango. If that's something you want to be a part of, join the chats, watch the social media, Spam Graham, any of those things, and we will let you know how, where, and when to be a part of it. But it'll be, on our YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. So wherever you're watching the show, you'll be able to catch it. If you don't watch the show live now, you're missing out. But you can figure it out on our YouTube channel. I guess we'd be live on Rumble, Rockfin. That's about it. Is that it? Facebook, Twitter, X. All right. That's it, guys. Enjoy the chat. This is a good one with the Shaws. All right, Leslie and Stephen Shaw, thanks for joining us in Grimerica. Welcome. How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Very well, thank you.
Good. Yeah, it was great timing. Thanks for coming on short notice. We got in contact, and usually, booking about a month in advance, but we had an opening this week, so thank you for the short notice. And I did have a chance to peruse your book. It was really, I do have a sort of a bit of a personal synchronicity. I mean, it's probably not. Darren's gonna just laugh. It's nothing. But I was talking to friends and family on my way to Darren's, and I was thinking about trying to get you guys on real short notice here about your book. And I didn't really look into exactly what your book was about, but we were talking about how this ancient history, this lost ancient history and UFOs is all connected, right? It's not necessarily about ETs, but there's a deeper connection there. And then I
Exactly.
started reading your book, and it was like sort of answering all the questions that I was talking to my friends and family about. So
Yeah, we're very science driven, and we don't jump down rabbit holes. So we're pretty pretty sanguine in that way.
Well, at
No,
least
no.
we think so. We don't, our theories don't require wormholes or portholes or interstellar travel.
Necessarily.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Is it pretty nuts and bolts then? Is that pretty safe to say? It's like, I guess that's the term I've heard thrown around, is nuts and bolts.
Well, we're just taking from what we've been able to garner from things that have been written, everything from the Bible to the Mahabharata to Chinese texts to our own experiences, and just also just using logic and just
And studying the
instead of just jumping down like all of a sudden it's got to be an Einstein-Rosen bridge and they have to have all this technology, and it's like no, that's not even what it states in the Bible. So it's just we're just like looking at it from the standpoint, because I was very much into science because I was a doctor for 20 years, so I look at things very much from a logical and horses not zebras standpoint.
our theories began to evolve once we realized that UFO fact and UFO theories were not aligning. The theories were that they're coming from vast interstellar distances, but our research shows that these things are making an appearance about 100,000 times per year. So are they coming here 100,000 times a year from Alpha Centauri or wherever, or do they live here, as we surmise that they're already here in bases, underground bases?
Massive cities.
So before we get into that sort of your overall theory, why did you decide to write a book like this? Like, actually, because a lot of people kind of write as if like they don't want to say what's going on. They're just like, here's all the stuff. We don't really have a theory. But you guys decided to put it out there and say like it's more about this. And I'm sure it's not dogmatic about that, but what made you come out?
One thing to do different was to actually come to conclusions, to sift the data and come to conclusions, that people could, relate to.
We really had two motivating factors. One of them was Leslie having seen 2 UFOs herself, because she'd always kind of 95% believed me about certain things that I had said, and then also to try and help to explain all the things that have been happening in my life throughout, and my 3 generations of my family that were just quite unexplainable. So there were 2 motivating factors. So about 20 some odd years ago, we started, more seriously, before the smartphones and kind of thing like that, we started really kind of looking into it and trying to sift through and trying to make some sense. So part of it was trying to make sense for ourselves, to explain, and just to learn.
Right. I mean, he had seen 3 UFOs before, and then we've seen 2 together after that. And my first was in 2005, and I did believe my husband. I did believe his alien abduction stories and his UFO sightings. I just didn't believe it 100%. I believed it 95%. And then there's that day where you see your own, and now it's 100%.
What did you see?
We were traveling west on the Highway 62 in Joshua Tree, California. And in front of us, a bright white light started to get brighter and brighter and brighter. And I thought it was a plane maybe coming into Palm Springs Airport. But the closer it got, I realized there were no extra lights like planes have, extra blinking lights on the sides. And it just was a white light getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And then it shot away north over the northern horizon and gone in about a quarter of a second. It had to have been moving at multiple thousands of miles per hour.
10,000 maybe.
And it took off at speed. It didn't slowly ramp up to speed. It was instantaneously going at that incredible speed. And the second one we saw together was similar. It was a white light, but it was doing very bizarre maneuvers, making not U-turns like our planes have to slowly bank and make a slow U-turn. These were making V turns at speed, and hovering, stopping, hovering. Definitely things our aircraft
Soundless,
can't do.
and there was another couple that also
And
saw
always
this.
silent.
Yes, and there's another couple also too on the street where we lived that also saw it too at the same time.
Yeah.
So four people saw that particular event.
But then Steve, I'm sorry.
That's one of the things that sticks out for me is the silence, because people like to say, "Oh, it's a a B-2 or it's a stealth thing," or like they're so loud compared to
loud.
So did the first one? Did it kind of look like a star, like it could have been the space station or something until it took off? Because
yes,
that's
just
kind
a
of
white light,
like,
a round white light getting brighter and brighter. Which, of course, white lights in the sky can be any number of things. And I wouldn't have slapped the label of UFO on it just looking at it. But then when it took off at that speed,
at first we thought it was an airplane coming into Palm Springs Airport, but it certainly was not that. It was, we just assumed right away that it was an airplane. But it anyway. So that was the two that Leslie saw with me. The first one that I saw was when I was about 10 years old. It was one of those classic orange large globes that was just hovering and moving from north to south. It was at nighttime, probably about 9 o'clock at night, and I actually called Griffiths Park Observatory about that particular incident the day after, and I talked to the astronomer, and he said, "Well, sir, we young man, we don't have our telescopes aimed that way, so we wouldn't know anything about it." Nothing was reported, but it's like you've heard probably be people reporting the orange globes that just are very distinct. And the second one I saw was with another person who was a valet at at a restaurant called the Chart House in Malibu, California. It was the wintertime. I know it was because it was the playoffs between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. And I went out to get my car, and it's right on the beach, right? So I went to get my car, and we both saw this white object rise up out of the ocean. And then it started doing its crazy maneuvers, and we both looked at each other and said, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Yeah, I saw that." And the other one was one that was a multiple sighting. That was early morning. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and a number of people saw a silver object that was hovering in the sky in Yucca Valley. It was reported to the radio station. That must have been about 2006, maybe.
And then there's the abduction problem, phenomenon with his family. It seems to have targeted his family particularly, he and his brother especially. His brother remembered seeing a gray alien in his room before he blacked out. And another time he heard a sound on the floor. He was in the bed and he heard a sound on the floor thinking it was a cat. And he reached down to pet the cat. And instead, something grabbed his arm. And then he blacked out again. And Steve, I'll let Steve tell his stories.
My brother also had one too. These all happened about when he was about 16. He had one where he was awakened by two bright lights outside of his bedroom window. And granted, this is the house that my dad and I and my brother all built with our hands. And where we were living, there were no houses around. There was no airplanes. It was just
kind of a rural area.
You're just like covering there, and again he blacked out. But for myself, my first experiences with weird or unusual happened when I was 3. I would fairly commonly be awakened in, again, the middle of the night, early morning hours, by this invisible being that would be jumping playfully on my stomach and my chest.
Invisible.
And it was not malicious or anything like that. It was just like having fun, and I just kind of accepted it as being something that was just normal. I had heard about the family spirit guide called Old Glegley that had been manifesting itself to multiple generations of the Shaw and the Rowe family, mostly the Rowe family. By the way, it seems like it's the Rowe side of the family that
his
has
my
mom's maiden name. And funnily enough, you look up the name Rowe, it means it translates as the tall red-haired ones, which is kind of very interesting. So in and of itself, but Then I fast forward to about to the age of 9, and I was sleeping in a bunk bed at that time in my life. My brother was on the bottom, I was on the top, and I heard these unusual sounds that I heard coming from the living room. So I got out of the bunk bed and I started walking on the hallway, and my heart was pounding. I was like really unusually nervous about. I didn't know what I was going to see, and I just get toward like turning towards to the right to go into the living room, and I black out. And then next thing I know, about 2 or 3 hours later, I'm back in my bunk bed, having no clue what had happened, but I'm back in my bunk bed. And my brother, my younger brother, who's now deceased, he spent a couple of years at least sleeping in the closet because he told me he was scared of, quote, the little men that would come in the middle of the night and visit him. So we're just kids. So I just was thinking that, whatever, just for kids. So anyway, the really strangest thing that happened to me, which happened in 1979, January of 1979, I was 18 years old, and a number of things that happened, but one of the ones that happened was that I had gotten literally scared to sleep in my room because I had been being harassed, and my dad had been being harassed, and other things were happening. So anyways, I was sleeping on the couch in the living room, and I was sleeping, face up, and I woke up about like 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark, and I looked at my piano because I'm a pianist, and I was thinking about what I was going to play, and I listened to the little fountain that was in the distant room, and I was thinking, well, I'm not going to get up. It's too early. And then from behind me, from the front door, this entity came, tall blue white entity, probably 6 to 7 feet tall, and it was standing, but it literally kind of hovered or floated. It didn't walk, but it moved very quickly. In about 2 seconds, it was by my right side, and it literally paralyzed me, not in a terrifying way, but just basically the right side of my body, the whole right side of my body, I could not move. And I felt it bend down and whisper in my ear, "Hi, Steve." Just like a friendly whisper. I couldn't tell whether it was male or female. And I was thinking, oh, great, I get to see the family spirit guide, old Glegley. But by the same token, I also couldn't move. So I was both really excited, but I was, it was the unknown. So I was scared. And then eventually I felt it, go back and then basically go out the front door. To this day, I can't remember if I went and told my dad about what had happened or whether I just had that missing time. It's just like that part is gone. What I do know, though, is 6 hours later, it was around 11:30, and I was going to go get some lunch for my dad and myself. And I decided to reach, because I was a cabinet maker. My dad and I were cabinet makers, and we were working out of our house. So I reached into my right-hand side pocket to pull out some change, and all the coins and all the nails, especially the coins, they were all magnetic. Or I could pick up the coins with the coins. It didn't matter which coin I tried. I could pick up the coins, and they were all just sticking to each other.
They were magnetized.
They're all magnetized,
which is supposed to be impossible.
And I've been trying since that time to try and get an explanation, like what could do that, what force could do that. But I can say that it happened, and I had witness, and there have been, it doesn't matter where I live. I've had very unusual things happen in at least six different homes in which I've lived. So it's not a haunting.
It's not like a haunting. It tends to follow the family wherever they go.
And exactly.
Where did you see that the orange orb?
That was in Woodland Hills, California.
California, okay. We had a guy on like many years ago. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Terry Ray. He wrote a book about the orange orbs called The Invasion of the Orange Orbs. And for some reason, like the UFO community, this was probably like 2015, 2014. They just seem to kind of ignore it. I mean, I thought it was a great book because he had plotted all the data from only orange orbs and red orbs.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
And they were all around, well, not all of them, but the majority of them were around 9 or 10 at night. So that matches kind of Steven's thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And he tracked them from 3 different locations in the U.S. So one was Catalina Island in California.
Well, that's very close to where we are.
Yeah. That's why
I mean-
I wondered if it was California that you saw that. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
there was,
Yes, yeah. Woodland Hills is only about a 25-minute drive from Woodland Hills to the to Malibu.
yeah,
You go across Topanga Canyon, so it's very close.
And we can see Catalina just across the channel.
right. So I mean, and then there was another. I can't remember where there was one in Florida, I think, and somewhere up on the East Coast. Maybe I can't remember what the third one was, but pretty interesting book. And I mean, I hear that also that there's sort of a cloak. It's a cloaking device, like it's just a cover for whatever's flying around there.
I kind of think of these orbs as remote viewing machines,
Yeah.
like they're spy machines, so to speak. That's
When-
they're
when-
too small for. They've been the Red Ripper Squadron on the East Coast, who filmed the Go Fast videos and the gimbal videos. They got a really close look at one of these orbs. It's about 15-foot diameter, and they're clear. It's almost like clear glass, and they have inside them
A
it
cube.
looks like a metal or a black cube spinning inside of it. And I think that these orbs are surveillance devices. At 15 feet diameter, it wouldn't be large enough to accommodate a pilot.
Oh well, a small crew maybe. Yeah.
Really
Maybe
small.
it's like little mini aliens, like the same ones that are controlling the Bigfoots when they roll around. You know, when you mentioned seeing that light that took off to the north, it reminded me of my sighting, which I think was probably in 2010. If I had to guess, it was either 2010 or 2009, but I want to say it was summer 2010 probably. But mine was clearly moving east to west, so I thought it was like me and my buddies thought it was the space station or a satellite. We were pointing out, we were watching it. Oh, look, there's a satellite or something, because it was moving in a very linear east to west sort of trajectory. And then about halfway or 2/3 of the way across the horizon, it took off to the north. It was very clearly to the north. And it was that same sort of thing where there wasn't really any acceleration or anything. It was just like, boom. And it was gone. And it happened so fast that you didn't really know what the fuck happened. But there was some sort of like imprint of like the flashback, like when you close your eyes after the light's been on of the north. You could see like the streaker of it clearly going to the north. So that just seemed.
Did you see the same thing? Like it streaks out in a long line, and then the back of the line catches up with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
so
it's
fast,
it's gone, and then but it happened so fast. And
Yeah.
I mean, we were admittedly we were smoking a joint. So it was me and my buddy and his brother, and that's what we were outside doing. We were out, but it was just it because we were all just like, "Whoa, dude, you see that?"
Yeah.
And then we just sort of went on with our lives, and didn't think much of it ever again. I just assumed there's something. I must have been this or must have been that. I really wasn't into it at the time. It just didn't. Now I'm doing a podcast about it. I probably, if it happened now, I'd be a lot more interested in it. I just kind of took it in passing as something that I couldn't explain, but I didn't really think of it a lot until you just mentioned your sighting them there, because it was a lot like that, and it very clearly went to the north.
Where was it? In the U.S.
We're just outside of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So that'd be
Okay.
like, yeah, straight north. So like
Phoenix, maybe.
Great Falls, Montana, Vegas. We're like straight north of Vegas, pretty much.
I was wondering, supposedly there's a ley line that goes through Joshua Tree, and it seemed to us that this thing may have been traveling along it.
It's near where the giant rock and Integratron is. If you're familiar with those
Yeah.
those things, George Van Tassel and the Integratron and giant rock, which used to be the largest standing boulder in the world.
It seemed to me like it was just slowly creeping up on being at the ley line, but once it was there, gone out of the world. And at 10,000 miles an hour, I wouldn't be surprised if it was that
we
fast.
met people. We did Bigfoot days this past summer up in Willow Creek,
Yeah.
and we went to Andersonville and met some people, and you just meet people in passing, and a couple different people talked about green orbs.
Up there,
that they had seen. It's always like just before dawn, and going to work like at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and green orbs just going along like maybe 20, 30 feet above the ground, and then just small again, like
Right.
almost like a drone, almost kind of like, but also not behaving like a drone.
So I started sifting millions of sightings, just reading and reading and reading MUFON sightings and databases and lists, and I keep hearing that UFOs are spotted coming out of the ocean, they're spotted coming out of lakes, they're spotted coming out of volcanoes, they're spotted coming out of holes that open in the side of mesas and mountains.
Like Mount Shasta.
They travel sideways in our airspace. It's like they're here, just traveling around the earth when they need to, when they have to go from one place to another.
And that also led us down to the explanation we have for the cattle mutilations too.
Oh yes, the cattle mutilations, we have a theory for it. We believe that these creatures are they're essentially related to humans. They're cousins of ours that we believe separated from our race roughly 13,000 years ago. And when we separated from them, some of them kept their technology and the thread of their knowledge, and some of us did not. And I believe that we're dealing with cousins, close cousins. When I see a gray alien, this thing is much closer to the human race than our closest relative, the bonobo chimp. This thing is much closer to us. I feel like I'm looking in a mirror when I'm, and the Nordics are supposed to be indistinguishable from human beings. So I see these as cousins more than aliens.
From before the Younger Dryas or afterwards? Well, I guess
before the Younger Dryas, yes.
Is that when the split happened, when that big cataclysm happened then? So
that's what we believe, yes.
And that's why there was forewarning of all. We've tracked about 1,200 different myths and legends from every corner of the planet that talk about a disembodied voice,
and they're all remarkably similar. Yeah,
a
disembodied voice says, either build an ark or go to high ground. People were warned all over the planet, and some survived. But what I think happened was they saw it coming. They sank some arks deep underground, took their technology with them and their knowledge, and then left us poor schmucks on the surface to just get wiped out almost. Supposedly our population has at one point had a bottleneck of down to about 10,000 individuals, and the rest of us are have been born from our population has regenerated from those 10,000 individuals, and that's why our race is not anywhere near as diverse as it really should be.
Not as telepathic, not as diverse. There's absolutely, and what we also found with our research is just how common asteroids and meteorites hit the Earth. The ones that we found so far, it's not an uncommon thing to happen. So if you have an advanced technology, an advanced civilization that is tired of losing their technology, and you can actually see something going to happen, but you can't do anything really about it.
Just stay safely underground.
All you got to do is go underground. In fact, the Chinese have been doing that for over 1,000 years. They have whole cities that are are underground. We found Derinkuyu in the southern part of Turkey. That's like 13 stories down. That was built sometime again pre-flood.
Right, we believe pre-flood. The Hiawatha asteroid impact, for 2 decades we've known that it happened. And because they found nanodiamonds in the soil of the Uccello Horizon and the Younger Dryas boundary. These are the soil layers of that from that time period.
13,000 years ago.
It shows a layer of charcoal, like the whole planet was almost on fire at the same time. All the forests were on fire at the same time.
Especially the Northern Hemisphere.
Especially the Northern Hemisphere. It's in like 4 continents on 10 countries. This layer of charcoal has been discovered in 13,000-year-old soil. And so we knew that somehow there was a celestial impact of some kind, but they couldn't find the crater. And because the nanodiamonds were found in high concentration in the East North American continent, it was surmised that the crater was hiding somewhere under the ice sheet. And that's exactly where it was. In 2016, it was discovered, and it's under the Hiawatha Glacier of northern Greenland. And the impact would have created 1,000-foot tsunamis worldwide, and we believe is the source for the great flood myths. And we believe these people dug underground and were safe in arcs below, and then the climate change fluctuations after the impact lasted about 1,000 years. So we think they just decided to stay because it was miserable on the surface.
You mentioned a split. Any evidence of and because it seems like if we knew it was coming, there was some sort of high tech going around. Any evidence of anyone parting off to the moon?
Well, actually, I think there are some evidence that there's lunar bases and also bases on Mars. See, Homo sapiens sapien, us, we've been in existence for 120,000 years minimum. We know that at least 120,000 years. Some people surmise much longer. But mainstream archaeology would have you believe that we sat around for 107,000 years, making no advancements, living in caves, picking fleas off our butts, and freezing our nips off for 107,000 years until we finally, 13,000 years ago, just decided to get smarter and get some gumption and invent the house.
Invent the wheel, invent the house, yeah. Invent electricity, or discover electricity, yeah.
And 107,000 years, that's enough time for us to go from, the caves to the moon 7 times. And we believe that we had a more advanced technology civilization prior to the flood.
We certainly knew how to manipulate rock, that's for sure. We knew how to manipulate rock.
And we had lunar bases and bases on Mars. Sure. After just 13,000 years for us, from being shoved back into the Stone Age, 13,000 years is all it took to get us back to being a spacefaring, species again.
Now we have Elon Musk.
Do you think it's a cyclical thing? Do you think it happens every 12, 13,000 years type thing?
Well, it's certainly possible that they were destroyed at some point in that 107-year time period and got shoved back into the Stone Age themselves and had to build back out of it. We don't know for sure. There was an asteroid impact about 5,000 years ago, and that could have affected, 50,000 years ago, and that could have affected the development of the human race at that point too.
There are a lot of unusual things about the human species. Our fascination with gold is one of them.
Oh, and that's a good reason why the cattle are being mutilated. They went underground. They took herds with them, and these herds have become non-viable, living underground. What do they take? They take the genetic material and the tongue and the eye, the sky-facing eye.
They exsanguinate, so they take all the blood too. They're taking genetic material, and it's not just a science project. It's necessity.
And we think that's why they're taking humans, is they need the genetic material for their breeding programs.
What do you mean by genetic material then? Like sperm and like actual
sperm, ovum, eggs, blood. Of course, like I said, things such as that, and sometimes they'll take actually people and maybe not return them.
Yeah, we think that's happening too.
There's kind of the missing 411 aspect.
Well, there's in Alaska, for instance, where there is a lot of UFO activity, and we believe at least 2 underground bases, Mount Hayes and also the Black Pyramid at Denali. People there sometimes disappear, and there's 16,000 people have gone missing in the last 30 years in Alaska. We think sometimes they're eaten by a bear or lost or whatever, but we think sometimes they're just taken and not put back.
Yeah, exactly. So what it makes me think of is that you're talking about a breakaway civilization since like from let's say pre Younger Dryas cataclysm. And
Yes.
does that breakaway civilization, is that the same one we're seeing now? Like, are they now sort of popping out and controlling our sort of disclosure and our aerial, because they had the airships in the 1800s, and there was all this kind of, even ufology itself, modern ufology is kind of obfuscated. There's all the stuff about the old airships being charged by buildings, and there seemed to be like a technology that was being used maybe in certain parts of the world, but now we're back. Like, they kind of wiped the slate clean in the early 1900s. Maybe World War I sort of tied the bow on that, and then now it feels like there's a group running the show in the background,
and they're hiding in mountains, hollowed out mountains.
There's I think also part of it too was, of course, the famous 1938 War of the Worlds. That's really kind of showed at least people in the United States just how xenophobic we really are. And even though it was told that this is actually a show, it's not true. This about aliens invading and such like that. We really are very fearful of things that are different. And also too, I've noticed that the disclosure, as far as saying that, for instance, these people have been living underground that are basically our cousins that are more advanced than we are, and they've been living underground for maybe 10,000 years or so and whatnot. People don't feel comfortable knowing that, number one, the human beings are not number one on the planet. Number two, you have a more advanced version of yourself that's living under your floorboards. It's a very unsettling thing, and it would crash. It would upset. It would upset the religion. It would upset the stock markets. It would upset international markets. It would be something that we made a deal pretty much with Eisenhower. Eisenhower made a deal that we've been able to find out so far. As I said,
we think they discovered the existence of these creatures because.
They're not creatures, they're our cousins.
Cousins. Because when we started using nuclear weapons, it very much alarmed them. And you could see it in their behavior afterwards. They started monitoring all of our nuclear bases, all of our nuclear silos. They would have UFOs monitoring them. And from what we're understanding from the recent disclosures that happened in the congressional hearing during this last summer, the pilots talked about how these tic tac objects, these spheres, they are dogging our military every time we go out. Every maneuvers, everywhere in the world, they are watching.
In fact, Fravor said only about 5% are reported because of the suppression and the fear and
and the pilots are afraid to report.
Yes, so it's a much more common than people than has been reported.
But they're worried. Of course, they're very worried for their fellow pilots, and the navigational hazard these things can be. The Red Rippers reported one of these spheres flying between two of their jets, and only about 50 feet away. The jets were only 100 feet from each other, and this sphere went right in between them at very high speed. And ever since then, the pilots, the Red Rippers, have been quite concerned about their fellow pilots, whether they're going to, finally crash into one of these things or not.
Yeah, you mentioned the disclosure, the impact it would have. I think it would impact the most the scientific community and the academia. I mean, I think they're the ones that aren't ready to accept a lot of this stuff because
for sure.
That's for sure, indeed.
This consciousness. Oh, you guys have I forgot you have a chapter in your book about that too. Yeah, the consciousness aspect is what they're still talking about even in this modern disclosure, which is interesting. You're seeing on X posts all the time. People are talking about that it's related to our consciousness. So how does that fit into your theory that we have some kind of like control, or we can actually summon things, or, you know, even from an occult or magical point of view as well?
I'm glad you asked that, because for me, when all these interesting things were happening back when I was 18, I was what today you consider to be a very chaste and pure soul. I hadn't done anything sexually. I was studying Tai Chi, and I was a long distance runner, and I was
Very spiritual young
very
man, yeah.
very spiritual. I was reading the Paramahansa Yogananda stuff, and I was very much that way. And I do, in some of the most amazing experiences that have happened to me have been because, as an example, I studied Tai Chi and taught it for 23 years, and also studied Monkey Kung Fu and taught that a little bit. But one of the things I talk about is the Chi energy and how to generate it and how to manifest it. And literally, Chi energy is real. I've been hit by Chi energy. I've been knocked on my butt by Chi energy from like about 6 feet away. And I've also knocked people over myself too. I've had the most amazing experiences. I do think that these entities they're psychic. They are telepathic. I think they are attracted to people that are more maybe higher vibrational.
And psychic. I see a psychic component in
Yes,
in this.
in my
as
family
well.
on the Rose side, there was that the automatic writing was happening for 2 generations back. I come from England and Scotland, my heritage, and also Germany. So there was that stuff. It was just known in our bloodline, and we just kind of accepted it. That is normal for us.
When we were studying, at one point together, we started studying Kundalini raising techniques, chanting, meditation, and we began to start opening up some of these abilities that are latent in the human being, but really are part of our birthright. And one of these abilities, I believe, is telepathy. This is a human birthright that is something all you have to do is awaken these abilities inside yourself. And one of the things we think has happened is that these people who have separated from us and didn't lose their technology and didn't lose their knowledge, they have continued to advance spiritually as well.
Yeah.
And this is why they're capable of telepathy with us. And I don't think you could have telepathy between two creatures that were not necessarily the same species.
And astral projection, I've been doing that. The first time I astral projected consciously was when I was 17, and I just actually astral projected about 4 nights ago.
Yeah.
I got out of my body. I was sleeping in the bed, and I got out of my body, and I went to go open the door to go out, because Leslie was sleeping in the living room. And I went to go open the door. I got out of my body, and I couldn't open the door
because he didn't bring his hand with him.
No, I had my hand, but it was my.
It was your astral
And so then I
hand.
went back over to my body, and I looked at myself. Am I dead? Because I got back into my body. I mean, these things are still happening to me. It's something that you hear about people doing remote viewing and things like that. A few people are able to do that, legitimately, and and a few people can do psychic things, and definitely astral projection is something that I've had for most of my life, and it's a very real thing. It's kind of fun too.
Well, where would you go if you had a choice to pick a place and you were aware enough to stay in that out of body state for a while? Where would you take yourself? I was
always attracted to scuba diving because I'm afraid to scuba dive in real life, right? Sharks, drowning, things like that.
Leslie, you went to the pyramids a couple times.
Oh, and I went to Egypt one time. When you're out of your body, you can just command where you want to go, and your astral body.
Yeah, the trick is to not try and move your arms or legs. You just use mental commands.
Yeah.
At first, yes. After you do it for a while, you start to begin to feel the difference between the astral body and the physical body, and you can start moving the astral body. But at first, what you try and do is move, and then your physical body moves, and you just slam right back into your body. It takes a while before you get the hang of it. We started doing this work, and it was enjoyable, and we were gaining more abilities, and Steve was becoming more and more psychic. He was already very psychic to start with. But then we began hearing into the astral realm just in the waking state. They call it clairaudience, and I found it to be very disturbing. I would hear somebody speaking right behind me, and I would turn and there'd be nobody there. And that sort of creeped us out, and certainly creeped me out. And I stopped doing the practices. I stopped, doing the chanting and the meditation, and slowly the abilities I had gained sort of faded away. But these are abilities inside the human. It's like I say, it's our
part
birthright.
of our human birthright. Yes.
Yeah.
And I still have things happening to me. As an example, about 3 nights ago, I got into bed and I was starting to go to sleep, and I hadn't gone to sleep, and I felt as if somebody had gotten into the bed. It felt exactly like somebody got into bed next to me. And it wasn't a cat, because we don't have any animals. And I said, okay, what do you want? Because I knew something was there, right? So anyway, so I'm just so used to this stuff. So anyways, I woke up about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to get up and go out and get some coffee, and it's always on the right side of my body for some reason. There's this voice, a very, very clear voice, said, "Husband," right in my ear. I said, Leslie never calls me husband.
It wasn't me.
It's very clear, just like husband. I said, again, like I say, these things have happened to me so frequently. Like many times, hundreds of times I've had where I'm starting to go to sleep, and I'll get 3 distinct knocks behind my head on the wall, just like boom, 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 always in the set of 3. I've had that many times, hundreds of times.
And just a couple of months ago, he awakened to find a being in his room, a large black being with yellow eyes.
Yep. And I said, "What do you want of me?" I've been trying to get answers, because I'm deciding now to try and confront these things instead of trying turn my back on them. I said, I want to know what are you trying to, what is your reason for being here? Why are you harassing me? It's unnerving. It's caused me many, many sleepless nights. I can tell you that.
What did it say?
It didn't say anything that I can recall. It was just looking, but it's standing there and
staring at him. Yeah.
Another time it was like it put its finger on my head, right on my forehead, like where the third eye is, and
put pressure on it, right?
It's strange, to say the least. I can tell you the most fantastic experience I've had, which I know that these teachings, like the Zen teachings, are absolutely real, because when I was 22, I was up at the Sonora house in Sonora, California, that my parents and I had built. And I was really heavily into Tai Chi, and I was reading Paramahansa's autobiography of a yogi. And I decided it was the day after Christmas, and I decided to do one of his Christmas meditations. And I was sleeping on my back on the floor at that time in my life. So around 11:30 at night, I did the Christmas meditation, and I went to sleep. Woke up about 4:45. I know it was because I saw the VCR clock said 4:45. And for whatever reason, because I'm not a particularly religious person, I thought about God's love. And I had this feeling that it was as if I felt God's love in my head, but I thought God's love in my heart. And I felt like this line come together and meet in my third eye chakra, and from like about 1 billion miles away, this inverted pyramid of blue-white light, like an inverted pyramid, it hit me right in my third eye in a split second, and I was encased in this cocoon of blue-white energy. And in that nanosecond, I understood why the Tibetans and why the different monks and the swamis, why they sit for 8 to 10 hours a day in a lotus position with smiles on their faces, because they're channeling this type of energy. And I came across it just by having one single thought that was a thought about love, and it was miraculous.
Didn't you see that exact thing on a drawing later?
Yes. It was about 3 months later. I was working with my dad, and I was thumbing through a Psychology Today magazine, looking at some of the ads in the back, and I came across this article, and it showed this man laying on his back on a stone tablet with this inverted pyramid of multicolored layers of energy hitting him in the third eye and encasing him in a cocoon of energy. It said, you can achieve enlightenment via the Rosicrucians.
Exactly what had happened to him.
It's so weird. Before you said that, I thought about the Rosicrucians, because we just met somebody who joined recently, and he was talking about the first couple levels of stuff. Like his life has just completely changed. He's practiced a lot of these meditations, like sort of a daily thing, a daily ritual sort of meditation, and apparently it's been very, very powerful for him.
I like your cat.
Kitty.
Yeah, no, they truly are. Like chi energy is real. What the Zen talk about having one pure thought. Things also they talk about like to truly understand a grain of sand is to grasp the universe. A single grain of sand is every single element that's on the periodic table, apart from the ones that we've manufactured. So it is a lot of these teachings they have a lot of truth to them, and again, a lot of it has to do with kind of like how pure you are and what you're doing with your life. Tai Chi is definitely one of the things I would recommend for people to help to, number one, to calm down, let's say obsessive compulsive disorder, and just to keep you in good shape.
Do you have any videos or like lectures you could recommend for Tai Chi? Like any instructions?
Well, I put out a series of Tai Chi tapes back in the mid '80s, and there are many different.
You like Polly Zink's work?
Well, Polly Zink, that was my monkey kung fu master teacher. But as far as Tai Chi, you can get some of the older stuff by Chen Menqing or Marshall Ho. There are some good ones. I mean, you want to go for. There's two schools of thought. There's the short form, and then there's the long form. So the long form is really better. The 108, it's called the 108 movements. The 21 is just you really don't get the full benefit of Tai Chi. So
it's funny that number 108 comes up so often in numerology. Yeah. It's funny. It's in Tai Chi too.
Yeah. So I guess I'd like to circle back to sort of your main theory, the inner earth. Like you think that these things are doing this. They're making contact not necessarily for curiosity, but for a need,
harvesting a product. We think
they need it.
Is it connected? Are they going underground and are they in all these different continents? Is it all connected? It's not like one big. I don't think you guys think it's one big inner Earth with an inner sun.
No,
we're not.
We definitely don't attribute that theory, but they're huge underground, hollowed out caverns that are temperature controlled, lit, able to grow crops. With thermal power, the
geothermal water,
power.
Yes.
Thank you. And we do believe there was more than one ark sunk in all over the world. We think there's some in Russia. We think there's some in
probably Australia.
We know there's two in Alaska. I think there's one under Skinwalker Ranch. I think that's what's causing the phenomena there.
it's at least a base or an outpost or
something like that.
We're not really completely settled on what that is.
But. Well, I'm pretty settled. I saw supposedly the Archuleta Mesa in that Dulce, New Mexico. The local Hawiya people, I think there is how you pronounce it. They are seeing like a duck blind open up on the side of the mesa. All this bright white light spills out of it, and then they see UFOs flying in and out of this open door in the side of the mesa. And this has been reported many times. But one of the videos I saw of Skinwalker Ranch showed exactly that. The entire ridge above the ranch lit up bright white light, like somebody had opened a door with a bunch of white light spilling out of it, and then we saw these white UFOs zip in and out of that scene, and then the door just shut and the light went back out.
People have reported similar things. Mount Shasta.
Yeah, it's a hole opening in the side of Mount Shasta.
Yes.
And light and UFOs. Like
the indigenous people have been. They call them the star people or their star brothers, and it's not unusual for them at all. So it's.
And you were mentioning Lemuria earlier, as the Lemurians were supposed to be living in the continent of Mu, which is a low. it's in the Pacific Ocean. It was a continent in the Pacific Ocean that's now all underwater, except for some of the island groups that are poking up out of the Pacific Ocean. The Hiawatha asteroid impact would certainly have. It did destroy that continent, and anyone who lived there were just had to move if they wanted to live, and we believe that they may have actually installed themselves in Mount Shasta. It's the perfect place to hide out from a cataclysm. The mountain is at high elevations. You don't have to worry about flooding that way. It's also riddled with lava tubes inside of it, which would make it easy to hollow out cavernous areas and for an underground city.
Yeah, reading that chapter in your book really made me think that maybe that's the cause of all these anomalous areas. Like people call them portals and all that, but maybe that's just a function of like it being a base or an arc or an underground city that's causing some weird magnetic anomaly.
I think portals are not really happening. I could be wrong, of course, but one thing we do know they can do is they can cancel matter out long enough to open a hole in a mountain and pass through it. And people have described how a hole will open in their wall or in their ceiling, and they're taken that way. They have the ability to, a certain extent, cancel matter and pass through it. And that would appear to be a portal.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of what I meant, is not necessarily that it's a real portal, but something connected with, something underground that is not man-made. It's not natural. It's the arc type thing you were talking about. I mean, ball lightning travels through matter. I mean, ball lightning can travel through walls and stuff. I mean, that's pretty much.
And that's been documented too, even going back to like 1787 or so.
And neutrinos.
Yeah. Darren, do you have any questions
I
at all?
thought some stuff went through the walls like during tornadoes and stuff too.
Yeah, that's what I was. I think that's related to the ball lightning, and thus gets stuck like half in a wall. And I don't know if that's because of ball lightning or the tornado itself, but yeah.
Right. How does that happen where they don't just disintegrate when it hits the tree at that speed? How does it actually embed 3 feet into a tree? It's wild.
Yeah. So really somebody's just harnessing that nature's ability there.
And if you were to add, we've only been out of the caves for 13,000 years or so. But if you were to add 100,000 years to our abilities, what would we be like then?
Yeah.
And that's what we think these people were like before the flood. We think they lived all over the planet. They were building pyramid cities all over the planet, all almost exactly alike.
The megalithic structures too, especially Baalbek. They're 880 tons. Just the trilithon.
The trilithon stones are ridiculous.
Without crane marks or without it's just lifting it 20 feet. From it's like it's ridiculous. Also too, because I used to, when I was in the Navy, I was a CB for 6 years, and I've been to places like Midway. I actually did a tour of duty on Midway Island, which was really kind of cool back in 1981. And we did a lot of concrete pouring, and we've done a lot of concrete and cement pouring because we also are stained glass artists too. We were at least. And when I look at the blocks at Pumapunku, the way that they were cut, they don't look like they were cut to me at all. They're so uniform. They look just like a concrete block, an advanced concrete block that was poured. That you got that triple layer bevel, and then it's just they're just so uniform. You can't just find material like hundreds and hundreds of blocks that is just exactly the same. It looks like it was melted and it was formed. And I think those blocks were actually formed and they weren't cut.
They certainly were not made by the Bronze Age tool-wielding Inca people that they were attributed to. That's insane.
It's at 12,500 foot elevation. It's way above the tree line.
And though the big orange red H blocks at Pumapunku are a type of sandstone, a lot of the other rock there is andesite, and andesite is a 7 on the Mohs scale. And granite is between 6 and 7 on the Mohs scale. So andesite is as hard as the hardest granite. And these megalithic stones of 200 tons are supposed to have been cut by people with bronze tools.
It makes
And it's ridiculous.
no common sense.
You
at
can
all.
you can take a bronze tool and smack it on andesite all day long, and it's just going to ruin the tool.
And then you got to figure what's the motivation for doing it. You know why?
Right? Why?
It had to be
That
easy.
big.
The answer is that they basically they set up a camp. And they said, okay, these are the tools we need. We're going to melt this rock. We're going to liquefy it. And we're going to put in these molds, and we're going to make either a landing pad or something out of it. I almost can guarantee you that these things were not cut; they were actually poured.
Well,
But
that's certainly possible.
But what do you think about those polygonal ones that really fit together and they're not uniform? They're all different shapes and they're kind of like, some of them have 5 sides, 4 sides. They kind of
Yes,
fit all together.
The walls, especially of Sacsayhuaman, are that. 200-ton andesite blocks that are polygonal and no two alike, and fit together so tightly that you can't slip a piece of paper in between them.
No mortar necessary. But the beauty of that is that when you do those polygonal shapes, and you basically distribute the stress. So if you have an earthquake, it'll act as just one unit. Actually, it will act as even better than one unit, because when you melt or you basically fuse together, then you're distributing the stress across literally thousands of stress points, instead of just having one big rock. One big rock can't distribute the stress like they did at Sacsayhuaman.
Like a 7-sided polygon.
Sacsayhuaman wasn't built, as you can probably tell, wasn't built as a fortress or something to keep out marauders. It was literally built, as we've been able to find, is probably like a sleuthing station for gold.
We think it might have been a massive mining operation for gold, Sacsayhuaman, because the walls, they're only on one side of the hill, so they're obviously not for defense.
Do you think there's some measurement or some way that they're using some information to figure out how to put all these that seemingly random blocks together, like for the stress point reduction that you're talking about? Like, do you think there's something that are they matching it to nature's frequency or something like that, do you think? Or is there some meaning behind it? Or are they just making...
One thing that we do know is that granite and andesite do have a high amount of quartz, which has the piezoelectrical effect. So it is a conductor. So just like the big negroid heads that have been found in,
they were the Olmecs. Remember, they made these giant African face heads. Some are 50 tons.
The biggest one is 50 tons. Yeah,
but they've actually found that the face part actually has like electromagnetic signatures to it, like something wouldn't have been able to know back then.
High piezoelectrical effect. Yes, so they definitely had a knowledge of definitely how to manipulate and use stone, and they definitely knew the magnetic, the resistor and the conducting effect of different minerals and different stones. For sure, I think that they had a plan as far as making the best use of it. That we have no idea really how old those Sacsayhuaman is. Right. It could be 100,000 years old, but guess what? It has no cracks in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at. So before we run out of time, I wanted to ask you guys about the modern UFO disclosure. It seems like there's a lot of arguing over non-human intelligences and whether it's ETs or not. I mean, there's a lot of different theories and a lot of different distractions, I guess. Especially considering your theory. What do you think about what's going on?
Well, when Luis Elizondo of ATIP released the 3 big videos to the New York Times in 2017, that was a sort of a turning point for the disclosure of the government's policies. Before that, they just were stonewalling us completely. This isn't happening. It's swamp gas. It's mass hysteria. This isn't real. You're all crazy.
Misidentification.
But then Luis Elizondo released those videos, and to all of our stunned, shocked amazement, the government, the DOD, released a statement saying these are real. They're not a fake phenomenon. And they released the entire video, whereas Luis Elizondo only released snippets of it. And they released it with a statement saying, like I said, these are real. They're not.
Golly gee, we don't know what they are, but they're
Right.
real. So.
But they're pretending like they don't know what it is. Oh, but we don't know what they are, but they are real. This is a real phenomenon, you know.
There is some along those same lines. There are some really wild theories out there, even from a person I won't name, but you would know her name in UFO circles. Leslie calls them what we want to hear about isms.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk right now about how the tall white aliens come from the Pleiades, and the blue ones come from Alpha Centauri, and all this. See, we think that this is a smokescreen that they're putting up because they want us to keep looking up rather than looking down.
Yes, there's this whole thing.
They like to play space alien.
Supposedly, we have, for the past 20 years, since 2003, we've been hitching rides on 4 different starships, and we visited with the tall white aliens and the Nordics 26 different star systems.
And they're a part of a federation.
And we're part of a federation.
And we're part of it too. And we get to go along for the ride.
And guess what? Two of the starships happen to be named after 2 of the original members of Majestic 12. So these aliens that are so much more advanced than we are
from Alpha Centauri have for some reason named their ships after 2 Majestic 12 individuals. It's
just like we all would love to think that Captain Picard is out there and Captain Kirk and things like that, but it's just ludicrous,
Nobody would like it more than I to be true. Nobody would like it more than I, but to me it smacks of what we want to hear isms. You know what I mean? It's that is what we want to hear. We want to know. We want to be part of a federation and zip around the galaxy with them. That would be just so awesome.
So that might be a little easier for everybody to handle than, oh, by the way, there's like a civilization that broke away from you many, many thousands of years ago and has been living underground and watching you for this long, and they're still there.
And one thing about these people, they're quite different than we are, we believe. For one thing, we think that they use genetic modification just like another tool. Like we have, qualms about using genetic manipulation to change ourselves or other.
Some of us have qualms.
We're changing it. We are changing that view slowly, but
with CRISPR.
But a lot of us have qualms on that front.
Some do, yeah.
But we think these people living underground do not. When they need, that's why we think there's multiple types of them. Like say they need, let's say they need a bunch of underwater work done. They'll simply produce a bunch of worker reptilians, say, who can breathe underwater, and it was just another tool to them.
Yeah. Darren, do you got any last minute questions, Darren, before we let him go?
Everything's frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but yeah, you're frozen. Oh,
that's better.
He just bounced, so I don't know what's going on with his internet there. So
I thought he was very still.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish he could like freeze in a more awake picture, But he's on Elon's satellite, and it seems to
Starlink.
Hello?
There he is. He's back.
You're back.
Darren.
So you also mentioned that it seemed like those things would be good to withstand an earthquake. So do you think it might be? It was like straight up some shit was going down. We got to make some shit to try and hide in or to stand up through whatever's coming down.
Well, if you can make something that will last pretty much, tens or not hundreds of thousands of years and is easy to do, why have to build it twice? I mean, our skyscrapers, for instance, the average life of today's concrete, the average life, not talking about what the Romans used, because they didn't use sand.
They had a better version.
They had a better version, but so their stuff held up, but our current concrete only lasts at the maximum 200 years, at the very maximum. So, we build with almost like planned obsolescence, where they built to last, and it was easy for them. Obviously, it was easy.
And if you look at our book, you'll read about Carlotto's work, who essentially is using the cardinal points on some of the structures to determine that they are now, the cardinal points point to where the poles used to be 12,000 years ago rather than are now, indicating that some of these sites, Teotihuacan, for instance, is actually more than 12,000 years old. At least the base of the layout of the pyramid structures were all done 12,000 years ago. Whether the current buildings on those structures are the same as they were 12,000 years ago or not.
I wanted to add one more thing too, because I'm kind of an amateur geologist, and one thing that you learn when you study geology is that when magma cools, the ferrites and the magnetic or the iron particles, they will naturally align to where the magnetic pole is at that particular time.
Right.
So you can tell when you collate that with different structures like Baalbek and the Great Pyramids and whatever, you collate that with when the lava was laid down. You can see that they're pointing to the magnetic north,
where the poles were
at
50,000 years ago or 100,000 years ago. Baalbek and Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, their cardinal points align to where the poles were in the Bering Sea. I think it was at the Bering Sea over 50,000 years ago.
Wow.
Yes.
So those foundations are possibly 50,000 years old.
Yeah.
We're just. I like what Graham Norton says about it. He calls it we're a race with amnesia. We don't know where we came from.
Graham Hancock, yeah.
I'm sorry, Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock.
I'm sorry, I got my Grahams confused.
No.
I like his talk show, Graham Norton. But sorry about that.
No, yeah, that makes sense. we had a guy on who was in part of a European team that was doing the analysis on all the ancient structures and where they point to, and I think they looked at 5 different pole shifts. It seemed like they all locate at 5 different points.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
pretty fascinating.
Roughly.
Yeah. Darren, do you got any last minute comments or anything? Or?
No, this has been great. Where can people find your stuff? Where can they?
Oh,
where
yes.
Can they get the book?
The book
where
again.
Can they follow you? Social media.
Yeah, the book again is called Who They Are and What They're Up To by Leslie and Stephen Shaw. And we're on Instagram at leslie.shaw.author. And also that's our Facebook handle as well.
And the book is available on Amazon and Ingram, and it's in different formats such as Kindle and ebook also.
Yes, and a paperback.
Paperback, of course.
The sky.
Right there.
Ron, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I recommend it. It's cool. I like how you put it all together. Good.
Thank you so much for having us. This has been really fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Stephen. You guys have a wonderful night, and
you got it.
Come back anytime.
All right.
When we write the second book, we'll let you.
Yeah, for sure.
Ping you.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. And that was a chat with Leslie and Stephen Shaw. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, it was good. What'd you think? Yeah, I liked it.
I think Grimstake is a bitch.
I kind of figured it would be good for you because you're not really into the whole ET thing. Like, I think you're more into the inner earth and,
what? You can tell me.
And the physical.
I'm into the inner earth.
The physical stuff. You're into the nuts and bolts and you would prefer the whole phenomena being here than from some galactic federation, wouldn't you?
Are you a nut or a bolt? Are you metro? You're a metro, so you could just do either. He's a nut and a bolt. I like the idea that it's just, I could get into people from the moon. I could get into, I guess, people from the inner earth. I don't know, the inner earth's kind of fucked up though, right? But they're just living inside the earth with no sun.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to ask is how do they, they must have to, I think that's why a lot of the inner earth books in the late 1800s, a lot of these fiction books had an inner sun, right? The inner earth was supposed to have its own sort of sun. So how would you get all that vitamin D? You wouldn't have a natural way to do it. That's a supplement. on blood or something. Maybe that's why they need all the blood from us humans that are still in the Garden of Eden.
What?
Some people think
you're going to be a Christian soon, huh?
Some people think the Garden of Eden is above the what's above ground, right? It's like all of us are above ground. That's actually the Garden of Eden.
Yes, right now.
Yeah, everything.
Is it winter in the Garden of Eden?
Yeah,
it's winter. It's wintry garden. Anyway, big thanks to Leslie and Stephen for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you choose to support the Magnum Opus over here, our Magnum Opus at least, and help us get by. Help us start the new year with a couple new subscribers. How about that? Is that too much to ask? Merry Christmas sent the Grimerica way. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. It's like $1 a month, $2 a month. Maybe just send us a 10 or 20 and help us start the new year with, a little Christmas bonus. Don't you think we earned it? What do you think? And if you're not signed up already, maybe just sign up. Sign up for a monthly. Make a one-time donation. If you are signed up, send us maybe a little Christmas pat on the back. Here's $10 for sticking it out. And either way, we love you guys, and we hope you have a great Christmas. And I think that's all. Is it? That's all I got.
Yeah, that's it. I think. Yeah.
I think this is our last. No, we got to record again before Christmas. This is it. Outlaws. One more Outlaws.
Yeah.
One more Outlaw.
No, I think this is it until Christmas.
Well, we'll have to record an Outlawed intro. But yeah, this is the last recording. So also the last live show. Grimerica.ca/support, guys. That's the URL. If you're getting some value from this little show that we've been doing for 10.5 years and you want to send $1 a year. How would $1 a year, bitches? $1 a year. I challenge you to send us $1 a year. If you haven't sent us anything before, send us $1 for each year. $10.50. Just busting your balls. But seriously, I love you guys. We love you guys. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.
No longer anxious with time. No longer in my prime. A sliver of wisdom, a taste of ambrosia. Perfectly fine in my skin, even on a rainy day. Unraveling holograms, sifting through beach sand. You see a flash in the pan, a metal detector, a fool and his folly. Snug as a bug in a rug in my humble abode. Perfectly fine in my skin, even on a rainy day. As time drags, your computer lags, causing a time rift. Then your body goes stiff, building up and building up and building up and breaking down and building up and building up and building up and breaking down and building up and building up and building up and breaking through. Look, a shooting star, a lucky streak from afar. Yes, you're down on your luck and life is hard. No worry, I'll be your bodyguard. Building up and building up and building up, breaking down and building up and building up.